Thank you very much for being with us tonight. I'm Helen Hutchison of the League of Women Voters of Oakland. The League of Women Voters is a trusted, nonpartisan political organization that encourages informed and active participation in government. We have the two candidates for the District 2 school board seat here with us now. They are Amy Eng and Bo Ghirardelli. The ground rules for our forum are that each candidate will have 1.5 minutes for an opening statement, and then audience questions will come after that, and questions will be screened to avoid duplication and personal attacks. The order of the answering questions will be alternated, and each candidate will have 1 minute to respond to each question. There will be no rebuttals. Following the questions, each candidate will be allowed 1 minute for a closing statement. The timekeepers will signal the candidates with colored signs marked 30 seconds and stop. Please note that as we progress through the questions, the candidates may choose to use some or all of their 1 minute to answer the question put to him or her, or to offer a rebuttal to the answer given to a previous question. That's the candidate's prerogative. You, as the audience, can make your own decision about whether you think that's the best use of the answer time given to each candidate. So we're going to begin with our opening statements from the candidates. Ms. Eng. Yep. Yeah, I'm sorry. I failed to tell you to turn the microphone buttons on.
Got it. No problem at all. Good evening. My name is Amy Eng, and I'm running for Oakland School Board to represent District 2. I am the daughter of lifelong educators and the granddaughter of Oakland's first elected Asian American City Councilman, Raymond Eng. And I'm proud to be endorsed by Alameda County Superintendent Sheila Jordan, Oakland City Council President Pat Kernahan, and the sitting president of the school board and District 2, David Kakashiba. So just to let you know a little bit about myself, I am a homeowner in the Grand Lake neighborhood. I've spent my entire life devoted to advocating for vulnerable communities. I currently work as the Senior Program Officer at the Thomas J. Long Foundation, and I have supported and advocated for millions of dollars of resources to support our East Bay children and youth over the past 3.5 years in my position. I've worked alongside former Superintendent Gary Yee, and also with our current Superintendent Wilson, and I am excited to bring my background in education policy, my current work in philanthropy, and my track record to bringing resources into our East Bay communities and being your school board member in this role. Thank you so much.
Mr. Ghirardelli.
My name's Bo Ghirardelli. I'm a lifelong Oakland native and a deep lover of our city. I grew up in the Crocker Highlands neighborhood and had the good fortune to receive a great education, but I know that's not the case for many students in Oakland. I'm running for school board in order to ensure that all students, regardless of their background, have access to high-quality education. And I think that means doing what it takes to make sure that we have the resources and make the right decisions and follow them through in all of our schools, not just in some of them. My professional experiences include founding and running an international nonprofit that focuses on empowering low-income young adults to start small businesses through training, interest-free loans, and mentoring. I also have a master's in public administration, and I look forward to bringing these experiences, as well as those of being a public school teacher, to the position of school board director for District 2. We have a deep need in all of Oakland, and I look forward to working on behalf of students here in our city.
Thank you both. Now it's time for the candidates to answer your questions. This first one will go first to Mr. Ghirardelli. Why should Oaklanders who do not have children in the schools care about the school board election?
I think education is one of the core building blocks of democracy and of a healthy city. So regardless of whether or not you have children in a school or if you're planning on having children, you should still care about what we are doing in our schools. It determines so much of the future generation's opportunity, and we want to make sure that we have a city where we have people with equal opportunities instead of the inequity that we sometimes see when schools leave behind students.
Ms. Eng.
I agree. I believe a healthy, vibrant, thriving Oakland begins with a quality public education system that serves and meets the needs of all of our students. I, in grad school, actually studied the relationship between local school districts and community and cities and counties and how those policies relate. And when you think about the key issues that we look at and that are being talked about at the mayor and the city council level, when we're thinking about public safety and economic development and growth in the economy, it really starts with education at its core. And so ensuring that we are building a strong public education system is really at the root of where of really the heart of our city. And so I very much believe in the strong linkages between the school system and a healthy and vibrant Oakland.
Thank you both. This next question goes first to Ms. Eng. Mm-hmm. What tools would you use to assess the superintendent's performance?
Great. Well, fortunately, as I stated before, I've actually worked alongside two former superintendents, Tony Smith and Superintendent Gary Yee. And as a funder, what we do is evaluate sort of the progress and performance of districts as we think about how we're going to be investing in the district. And fortunately, over the course of the last several years, the school board has already developed a tool of performance metrics and standards that can be used to evaluate the superintendent. The board and superintendent work during the course of the summer. They've already done this and identified 5 key priority areas that the superintendent will be working on over the course of the year. And this tool is used to be used as the platform for a performance standard that evaluates the superintendent at the end of the year and is used as a conversation to really between the board and the superintendent and the community to really measure the performance of the superintendent over the course of the school year.
Mr. Ghirardelli.
I think accountability is rooted in achieving results for our students. So when the board holds the superintendent accountable, it's with that end in mind, that accountability for the superintendent means that the superintendent's holding the central office accountable, which means they're holding local administrators accountable, which means they're holding teachers accountable for delivering high-quality education for each and every student. So when we look at a board-level accountability of the superintendent, we need to be holding him accountable to what he says, what our priorities are, and then making sure that he hits that both on a quality level and on in a fiduciary level, managing the budget effectively.
Thank you both. This to Mr. Ghirardelli first. Please share your position on charter schools versus traditional public schools. And the second part of this is, what should the relationship between the school board and charter schools be?
I think charter students are our students too. Currently, a quarter of Oakland students attend charter schools, and that means we have a quarter of Oakland youth in schools that need just as much help as any other student. So the role of the board should be one of ensuring quality education for all Oakland youth, and that includes in charter schools. That can look like increased accountability, which is in place for charter schools due to the flexibility they have in their curriculum. But then also we need to make sure that they have the resources to serve the students that they're working with, as well as the students that the district schools work with.
Ms. Eng?
Great. As Bo stated, currently a quarter of our students in Oakland are going to charter schools. And so we have here a very complex situation, which is going to take a lot longer than a minute to discuss, between the options, viable options for quality seats for parents, the needs of district schools, and the impact that it makes on the entire school district. I support charter schools as a viable option for many students, especially low-income students here in Oakland. However, given the current education code that we have at the state level, it presents a very challenging issue for those in local governance, because there's not a lot of mechanisms to really be able to address this two-tier system, and as a result, there is it puts the financial viability of all of our schools at jeopardy, given this complex situation. And so I'm very hopeful that the new superintendent is able to come up with a plan to best be able to partner with our diverse providers here in Oakland so that we have a sustainable and viable future for all of our schools going forward.
Thank you. This to Ms. Eng first. What is your position on Common Core, and how do you see its implementation impacting the Oakland schools?
Great. I think in concept, I believe that the idea of educating and preparing our students for 21st century skills and learning is a great concept, as with all policies, of course, and new curriculum. It's up to the implementation, and it's very, very much too early to tell at this stage on the being able to evaluate Common Core. But I do believe in its principles. I do believe in a lot of the progress that's happening in Oakland towards providing more new experiences and linkages between the classroom and the workplace. And Oakland also has a measure on the ballot, a parcel tax around career and college readiness that also looks at addressing these linkages in what's called, we use the term linked learning, but basically it's workplace experiences through internships, rigorous academics, and just being able to provide those support systems to support both the curriculum and the workplace experience.
Mr. Ghirardelli.
I think Amy touched on a lot of great points in there. It is too early to tell on Common Core. What I don't believe is that we can have a one-size-fits-all solution for our students. But I do deeply believe in the need to make education more relevant for our students, and linking it to 21st century skills and career opportunities is a really important part of making education relevant. It also presents an issue. Students today, in this time of incredible and rapid change, we don't know necessarily what the world's going to look like in 2030 or 2025. So we have a responsibility to adapt our education as quickly as possible to respond to the reality that our students are living in.
Thank you both. This question for Mr. Ghirardelli first. How will you address the high dropout rate among Oakland students, and what can be done about the disparity in academic achievement among some ethnic groups in Oakland schools?
I believe strongly that this is a major issue and priority in Oakland. I think that what this involves is rallying the community behind our schools and providing additional supports. I believe that there are people who are closest to this problem who have ideas and ideas on how to address our high dropout rate, especially among African American and Latino males. And I think that empowering people closest to the issue to address to address this crisis is an important part of the solution. We do have policies in place such as restorative justice and linked learning that are perhaps part of the solution, but we have a lot of work to do, and we need to start working on this issue immediately.
Zane?
This is another very complex question, which will be challenging to fit in a 1-minute time period, but it's pretty unbelievable how the issue around how we've been chronically under educating our kids with this reduced dropout rate. And I'm very, very passionate about looking at issues. You know, one issue I'm very passionate about is looking at early learning. I've done a lot of work around early childhood education, and there's a lot of movement, both statewide and nationally, on strengthening the support systems around early learning and the K-12 system. So early learning is definitely one area that can help and has been statistically proven to help reduce dropout rates. But we can't just stop in the early years, and we can't just stop in, once kids get to K-12 system. It involves involving the families, the communities, the entire school system, and so it's a very, very complex and challenging issue, but one that I'm eager to address.
So, to Ms. Eng first. Truancy is a significant problem in Oakland. Mm-hmm. How would you propose the district approach this problem, and what can be done?
So, as we know, chronic absenteeism, so that's students that are missing 10% or more of school a year, is directly related to the dropout issue, which we were just talking about. And fortunately, Oakland has actually been doing a lot of work around collecting the data around the students who are missing, I don't like to use the word truant, but who are chronically absent, and identifying these students, and then providing some case management and support around these students. And so I believe that this is an area that we are gaining some traction on. The first step was just in terms of just setting up the data and infrastructure to really even understand who these students are. And the second step is to be able to provide the wraparound case management and to support to be able to address why students aren't in school in the first place, and see if it's a transportation issue, if it's see what type of issue it is, and see how we can best address the students' need.
Mr. Giardelli.
I think this does come back to an individualized approach, collecting data. I think some data show that that it is an issue of school being relevant for students. When a student is engaged and feels like their education is changing their life and is leading them down a better path, they go to class. I saw it in my classroom in South Central Los Angeles, and I think that we have a duty to make sure that the education we're providing is engaging and relevant, so that our students understand the value of education and feel it when they're in the classroom. And then I think that will be a part of addressing what is a very large and pressing issue.
Thank you. For Mr. Giardelli first. Students with disabilities and special needs are increasing in the district. Please discuss your ideas for meeting this growing situation. And also, can you comment on the recent transportation snafu for the 1,600 special education children?
I think that the local control funding formula presents an opportunity in allocating additional funds to our highest need students. I think that we have a duty to better understand what our disabled students need, and that involves talking with the community and engaging our special education teachers and making sure that we are understanding the issues, and then allowing people who are closest to the issue, again, decentralizing the decision making and allowing them to make the decisions that are best for their students. Again, a one-size-fits-all approach is not a healthy one.
Ms. Eng?
Great. I've actually done a lot of work professionally in this area as we fund in both disabilities and education. And so one area that we're looking at is increasing early intervention and looking at how we can increase the screening as students first come into schools. There's a program model called Help Me Grow that's run out of the first first 5, Contra Costa County and soon Alameda County, and looking at doing early screening and early intervention, because research says that if you can identify students on the early side and provide support services around, they can actually be mainstreamed by the time they get into 3rd grade. And so early intervention is one area. Another area is around family empowerment and family engagement to help families navigate the IEP system, which is a very complex and challenging system. And overall, just increasing the community support services. For example, I'm out of time, but I would love to share with you about the lack of after-school services. Oh, excuse me. Thank you.
To Ms. Eng first. You're being elected, this election is for District 2. How will you represent all the students of OUSD, regardless of which district they come from?
I believe I've already been an active Oaklander. I'm a very passionate Oaklander, as I know Bo is himself, and I've already worked with a number of community-based organizations across the city. I've helped found a group called Hella Heart Oakland Giving Circle, which raises grassroots funding and support for refugee and immigrant women health and wellness issues in Oakland. I'm very much an Oaklander at heart. I do believe I represent the diversity of District 2, but I believe that diversity in District 2 is representative of the diverse nature of our city. And so I feel very confident with the work that I've already done in West Oakland, in East Oakland, in the San Antonio and East Lake area, in North Oakland, all parts of the city I understand and know well, and I've visited and partnered with many nonprofits and community-based organizations already across the city. So I feel very comfortable representing the entirety of the district, and of the city, including our district.
Mr. Girardelli.
I love Oakland, and it's clear you can feel it in this room. Everybody else does too. And I've worked with students, teachers, parents, nonprofits from East Oakland to West Oakland to North Oakland, and we really, when you serve on a board, you do have to make interests and you have to make decisions in the best interests of all students. And I think that understanding and engaging communities in all over Oakland is a role of a board member, regardless of which district they represent. And I look forward to continuing to do so.
So first for Mr. Girardelli. How will you support the recruitment and retention of qualified and experienced teachers in the Oakland Public Schools?
As a former teacher myself, I understand the need for teachers to not have to worry about how to pay the bills when they're worried about forming the hearts and minds of our youth. So teacher compensation is an incredibly important part of making sure that our teachers have the financial resources they need to live in an expensive city like Oakland while they are delivering education. And then also providing support. Now this support it looks like professional development. It looks like administrators coming into your room on the same team as you, looking for ways to support you, not necessarily find ways to demerit you or say gotcha. The idea being that we need to rally everyone behind the teachers because they are the greatest influence over our students' education.
Ms. Eng?
I also am a firm believer in teachers and supporting our teachers. I'm the daughter of a 35-year high school math teacher veteran, public high school math teacher veteran, and I have lived with teachers my entire life, and it starts with teacher compensation, absolutely, in a city that has rising housing costs by the day. It also includes support systems. It also includes teacher pathways and opportunities for teachers who are maybe 7 or 10 years teaching in the classroom and are looking for another opportunity to advance their skills. So perhaps that might be teaching half the day and being a teacher leader and supporting their classroom in other ways. The board has passed a building professional culture policy this last year, and I'm really hopeful that that can be used as a tool to be able to really increase support to our teachers, and it also includes professional observation and feedback, which I know that teachers are eager to have, and so I'm very supportive of teachers as well.
This question is from Ms. Eng first. Many Oakland students daily face situations that cause trauma. What policies or programs would you advocate, and how would you address the trauma that the children face?
Yeah. Our former superintendent, Tony Smith, did an amazing job speaking about just the sheer trauma that many of our kids come to school experiencing already, which includes violence in the communities and a number of other traumatizing situations that impact and act as a barrier to their learning. So fortunately, in Oakland, we also have a number of assets. We have a number of hundreds of community-based organizations and many, many amazing organizations that are doing work in these areas, which include work around restorative justice, work around counseling and support, really cutting-edge, innovative programs that are actually being used as national models. And I've had the opportunity to actually fund and support some of these programs and see firsthand in the classroom how they're making a difference and how they're being able to support both teachers and leaders by being able to serve the social-emotional piece of students' needs.
Mr. Girardelli.
I have had students in my classroom with post-traumatic stress disorder, the same disorder experienced by soldiers in our, and it's it's tragic to see that in students so young, and we have these real and pressing issues in our schools, and we need to make sure that we have the resources in place within our schools to provide for the emotional and developmental provide the emotional and developmental supports that students need, and this includes coordinating efforts between service providers, not just at the school level, but also with the local NGOs and government services.
Thank you. For Mr. Girardelli first, do you believe that the administrative staff are too centralized in the central office? If so, how would you address the issue?
I think the role of a board member is to hold the superintendent accountable to holding the central office accountable. So the board member's role is not to get involved in the central office beyond, I believe, the superintendent, and thus I think Antoine Wilson's very cognizant of the need to be in our schools and to be on the ground and working with people who are closest to the issues that our students face. And from there come, I think, the best responses to our greatest issues.
Ms. Eng?
Our district, as we know, has a new superintendent, and he's actually been very active in terms of reorganizing both central staff and district staff. So it's hard to answer that question right now because I think it's still early in the progress. But overall, I think some of the local control accountability plans and some of the new policies that have been passed statewide and locally have really put an emphasis on decision-making at the site-based level and at the individual school level. And I very much agree in that philosophy that those who are closest to working with the students should be able to make decisions over what support services they need, especially in an under-resourced district like we have. Given limited resources, I do believe a principal should have discretion over what support they need. In a district like Oakland, okay.
Okay.
Thanks.
So one last question before closing statements to Ms. Eng first. How important are athletics, arts, and music for the children in the schools? And how would you expand them given the limited current resources?
I do believe it's really important to have a holistic approach to education, which is academics, but also other extracurricular and recreational activities. Unfortunately, given our limited budget resources, we've had a challenging time increasing our support to some of these areas, such as arts and athletics. And I do believe there are enormous opportunities there. I think in the short term, what we need to do is strengthen our support, looking at our overall assets here in Oakland. And fortunately, we have a number of amazing arts education organizations, athletic organizations that are doing work in this area already. So I believe in the short term, we have to continue partnering with these agencies and making sure that our students have access to a well-rounded education, not just academically. But in the long term, I think we need to think about other ways to generate more revenue so we can support a holistic approach to education.
Mr. Ghirardelli.
This is a priority issue. It comes down to the fact, for me, that would you do it for your kids? Would you make sure that they got athletics and arts training? And I think we owe that to every student in Oakland Unified. The trick is figuring out where the resources will come from, but I don't believe I don't believe OUSD's budget is a zero-sum game. I don't believe there's a finite amount of resources. We have an incredibly rich and diverse community, and we have all this human talent and human capital that we could leverage in providing these services above and beyond what the school district is able to do. But we need to make sure that that's part of the school day so that students feel school as a holistic place of learning.
Thank you. So now it's time for closing statements, and Mr. Ghirardelli, you go first.
In closing, I would like to just challenge Oakland and the community to be part of what's going on in our schools. Visit one, talk to teachers, talk to students, start lending a hand where you can. We have a great need, but we have so many great people here in the city. If we all got out there and if we all took a role where our talents and interests fit, I think we could do incredible things with our students, and we could be part of making Oakland great for our youth.
Ms. Eng?
As we've discussed here in the last half hour or so, Oakland faces a lot of challenges. But as Bose just said, we also have a lot of opportunities. We have a new superintendent who has a track record of turning around districts and dramatically improving outcomes for students. We have a very collaborative board of education that's in place. We have increased revenues that are starting to come and a bunch of new policies. I believe it's a really great time and a great moment for Oakland and Oakland education system. And I'm really excited to continue working alongside the many community stakeholders. I don't believe we have time to lose momentum. And I have worked with the school district over the last 3.5 years and worked in education policy over the last 8 years. And I believe I could hit the ground running, having already worked with many of the key stakeholders, including board members and community providers.
Thank you both. And thank you all for taking part this evening to meet the candidates and for asking the questions that indicate your interest in the election process. For further information about the forums and the candidates, please visit the League's award-winning website, smartvoter.org. You will find descriptive information and links to other sources there. Members of the League of Women Voters do the hands-on work to safeguard democracy. While we never endorse candidates, we are directly involved in shaping the important issues to keep our community strong. To join us, visit our website, lwvoakland.org. And for those of you here this evening, there's information outside in the hallway. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks.